Yo, right here in the small box. Anyway, let's go ahead and get started, man, because we got a lot to talk about, a lot of videos to get through, and I'm not trying to be on here for like 4 or 5 hours, all right? Just want to say that now. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and get started. As you can see, we got Curtis King in front of us. We're going to be tapping in with one of the most intelligent individuals in hip-hop, period. So, let's get started, bro. Y'all do know how to start this, right? So, let's go ahead and make it happen. Let go. Yo, you, right here in the small box, Welcome back to Flex Mob Reactions, only on the Flex Mob Network. I'm Flex. Welcome back to the channel. Vince Staples drops a hip-hop perspective nobody saw coming. What can I say? Vince Staples is smart as hell. He might sound dumb. He might act dumb. But he's simply playing a role to make the consumer, the audience, and the industry feel better. I'm just saying. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and get started. Listen, y'all know how we do this, right? Make sure you like, comment, share, subscribe. If you know anything about the video, drop a comment down below. Let me know anything about the reaction. Let me know what you think about his perspective on hip-hop and what he's going to be talking about in this video. Because I believe it's going to be very interesting. Y'all know the spiel already. Look, I'm done here. Hype the video up. Y'all already know. Let's get started.
Curtis DIY.
DIYers, I saw this interesting interview here from,
man,
one of the brightest minds, in my opinion, that exists in hip-hop. A rapper, a lyricist, an actor, now a TV show writer, Vince Staples. So he was doing a promo run, and he went to go talk to Complex magazine. The conversation came up about hip-hop not being in the charts. Leave it to Vince to always have a take. It's not different for the sake of being different. It makes so much common sense. And it's a take that he's been very consistent on as we kind of go back to things he said before when it comes to separating art and commerce. Listen to what he had to say. Hey, yo, DIYer, if you're enjoying this content, please don't forget to hit the like button. It helps this video and this channel get discovered by new people. I appreciate you. Now back to the video.
Something that you talk about a lot is kind of just the state of the music industry, particularly for Black and brown artists. And I know that comes up explicitly in the first episode, Country Maine, and he kind of details, you know, the predatory nature of the music business. But what do you think about the recent Billboard news that hip-hop has dropped out of the top 40 for the first time since the 90s?
No, I don't think it means anything. I think people buy things.
Yeah.
And the things that people buy changes. It doesn't dictate, you know, art. Or we got to stop comparing creativity and commerce. They're not the same thing, so.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
Like I said, he's been very consistent on this separating creativity and commerce. But he says, I don't think it means a thing. Some people buy things, some people don't buy things. That's not the take, though. Here's the one that really had me, like, really thinking about just the gratitude I think that we should all have as we think about how our people sometimes do the impossible.
This man literally looks like he writes books for a living, bro. Look at this nigga. Anyway, hey, stop trying to compare the creativity and commerce. It is not the same. All right, stop comparing the art to commerce. As soon as you have art, something creative, something that you put together yourself through your mind and what you mapped out, that's not commerce. The dark reality with being a creative is that you are going to be broke as hell. The music industry is designed to put money in your pocket. That's what it's for. Because they noticed a theme. They noticed a pattern with a lot of artists from back in the day, how they would have their music, but their music doesn't really translate well enough to money. So the music industry today said, yo, why don't we try and push everybody's music to the masses through different applications and programs so that they can go and listen to their favorite. They can go and listen to somebody they like. They can go and find somebody new, you know? So at that point, with DSPs being brought into the mix and the music industry doing everything revolving around this thing, that was there to help the consumer find the art quicker, and that would translate to money into the artist's pocket. Keep in mind, I didn't say how much. That's the overall fact. Yes, you're getting money in your pocket. Congratulations. You deserve it. How much, though? You might get a signing bonus of $10 million. A lot of people, when they usually get money like that, what's the first thing they go do? They buy a house, a couple cars, and they splurge on clothes, drinks, a booth, and men or women, depending on the gender. You understand what I'm saying? Anyway, because that could get messy. So yeah, you got this much money as a signing bonus, not realizing that you still gotta owe that back. Anyway, throughout your career, you might get paid, depending on how well your art does. But the underlying fact is that you're not getting that much. The industry's taking your money. They're taking all of your funds. And now you're looking at the DSPs like, bro, this is all I'm getting? I'm supposed to be getting more than this, no? Nah. It's working as intended. This your paycheck. Go splurge.
On a regular basis in these spaces that are not really designed for us. But listen, hear him out.
Well, with the 17% black population in the United States of America, I don't ever expect us to be at the top of the Billboard charts if we're truly making music from a pure place for ourselves. So anything other than that is, a plus, and you appreciate it, but that doesn't mean that it's not translating within our community.
Wait a minute. One more time, Vince. One more time.
We're truly making music from a pure place of America. I don't ever.
He talks about us as black folks being only 17%. For last I knew, it was 13%. But let's just say it's 17%. Still not the dominant population that exists in the U.S.
What's good,
if he's talking about the U.S. numbers, 17%. Like I said, I believe it's 13. Just think about that for a second, especially when you're thinking about buying audiences. Especially think about that when you're talking about cultural impacts of albums and music that is touching us to a certain place, touching minorities, and also just folks who happen to be a part of this hip-hop culture, whether as guests or whether it's just people who appreciate
Sarah? How
the
you
arts
doing?
in general. Just think about that stat for a minute. 17%, leaving you 83% where other people can make decisions about what music rises to the top of the charts. And even beyond that logic, let's talk about who these record businesses are ran by and who they look like the higher up you go. And if they're playing with the numbers the same way the WWE does at times, then it really makes it seem like a very interesting number, to put into its proper perspective, no matter who one of your favorite artists happen to be at the top of them.
But with the 17% black population in the United States of America, I don't ever expect us to be at the top of the Billboard charts if we're truly making music from a pure place for ourselves. So anything other than that is, a plus, and you appreciate it, but that doesn't mean that it's not translating within our community.
This man looks like he about to write the next Bible. Do you hear what he's saying? I'm glad you're doing great, Sarah. Do you hear what he's saying, though? And honestly, that point goes back to one of my own points that I like to make when it comes to majors and minors, maximum and minimum. So when you have a majority and a minority, right? You got to consider this as a fact. The majority of people in America are, well, you understand what I'm saying? But the fact that that majority doesn't command the industry, the entertainment space, just goes to show you how the minority can really maximize on their greatness by just simply through expression. That's an example of what I used to talk about when it comes to the minority being maximized. When I talk about different artists and the minority audience that they make music for, how they maximize through them is different ways of selling to them. It's the same thing when I talk about when you have a Taylor Swift and she's selling to the majority and she's maximizing on selling to the majority with the different ways that she sells to her audience. It's similar when I look at this now when I talk about how the minority audience in America has captured entertainment by maximizing on their greatness. The thing is that even though we command entertainment, we do not lead and we do not protect entertainment. It's other people that protect entertainment. That's an issue for another day. But the point is that even though that we are still maximizing on greatness, we still can't obtain this thing that we do so well. So we have to do it for other people. That's so crazy. What's good, Hugo?
Because it's not that many of us here.
And why is it important for you to speak about the predatory nature of the music business?
To be honest, I don't really even like talking about it. I think that it's just the truth.
Okay.
And whenever music comes up, like that's a part of music.
Yes.
I just don't kind of ignore the ugly sides of things, even myself. Like I try to pay attention to every part of the equation and kind of get better at all these things. But music has always been music, and I think that you can appreciate something and get a lot from something while knowing, its flaws. And I think that's just one of the things. But I'm not really an outspoken person. I don't feel like I just speak on an issue.
Yeah, I'm laughing with her. It may just be in his mind. He not being outspoken. He just telling the truth. But no matter what he does, there's a compilation. We probably got to watch it another time. There's a compilation of the wildest stuff he said in interviews. If he ain't doing it on purpose, then he just lives in a naturally controversial space that just so happens to be called his truth. I don't want to deter from this original point, because there's another thing that we're going to get into that talks about expanding upon this idea of art versus commerce. But he talks about why he feels like battles and beefs are corny. I don't want to leave this clip before we get to that one, but don't let the main thing be lost. Hear it out.
I don't say anything unless somebody asks me.
Okay.
So, whenever I'm asked a question, I'll tell the truth. But you ain't never see me jump out and just start talking about something.
Yeah, I guess you're just very chat, like on the Joe Budden podcast.
They call me.
but you definitely say how you feel.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie about nothing, but yeah, they call me. But as far as just saying it on my own, that never happened.
Isn't that funny? A rapper who decides not to lie and say the political thing is the controversial figure in 2025.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
There's many of us that grew up on the most controversial. Like I was watching a Biggie interview and he was saying something. I was like, Biggie wasn't even known as a controversial figure in his interviews. He said some wild shit in them lyrics, which I would not repeat on.
I ain't gonna lie, that boy said some flagrant shit in his lyrics. Anyway.
This channel. He's a wild boy. He was a wild man. He said some shit in the interview. I was like, whoa, okay. Ice Cube's another one of those. Tupac, of course, is another one of those. A lot of artists where that was the norm. I'm just telling how it is from where I'm from. But everything got so politically correct because it feels like a lot of these rappers followed the Jordan model that you saw in the Last Dance documentary. He was like, Republicans buy Nikes too. They buy tennis shoes too. I ain't trying to really piss nobody off. I'm gonna just wear this hoop earring and just win a lot of basketball games. Is that okay? He ain't even talk like that, but I hear him like that in my head. Continue though, Vince.
Okay, got it. And then you also, speaking of the Joe Budden podcast, because they called you to get your opinion on this, and you think rap beefs are corny. You said that before the Drake and Kendrick beef. You basically said that there should be more emphasis on trying to create a better industry than warring back and forth, correct?
Mm-hmm. Y'all got real happy when niggas start rap beefing.
No.
But then y'all got real sad when niggas lose their publishing and niggas go to jail and niggas die and all the other stuff. It's like, we either with the cooner or we not, bro.
Hey. I've never seen this clip. I've never seen that clip.
Who said that the white audience celebrate mediocrity? I remember a video about it, and there were some really good points there. Girl, then find the video.
He does speak to a slice of hypocrisy that does exist when you think about how excited some people get beyond the competitive nature of battles, which we understand. We're on the same page with this. Beyond the competitive nature of it, there are some people salivating for what kind of dirt can you get on the competitor. That doesn't excite me nearly as the lyrical sparring that happens. But when you have somebody like a Kendrick versus a guy with a team of ghostwriters, there ain't much to debate anymore. Maybe hit songs. That didn't happen from Drake Keisha. There are some people who only come for the gossip. And if there's no gossip, there is no battle. But he said we either with the Conan or not. That's a crazy ass statement. That's what we talking about.
I'm not gonna lie. Ever since the gossip got introduced into rap battles, if I'm gonna be super real, hey, that's when it got interesting. And I feel like that's also the reason why that was the gateway for the kind of gossip that we get on social media today, because what we get is too much. If I'm going to be real, I should not have to know about what you do in in behind closed doors of your room for a lot of the things that be on social media, Twitter. Like, it's just getting a little, we're going too far. We're going too far. Like, nobody's trying to be like, no one's trying to be secretive no more. Everyone's want to be like, look what I did. And even though we really didn't want to see it, we go and look and it's like, you did that? Damn. Like, you understand what I'm saying? Like, that's what it's come to. But with that lyrical warfare that we got last year between Drake and Kendrick, and how well one side used that tactic alongside keeping it towards the traditions of hip hop battles, and then the other side was just Google searching everything that they needed on their opponent as if everything was sourced, everything was cited. Guys, don't forget to cite your sources, huh? Yeah, at that point, then that's kind of like marrying the two sides, where you have the tea with the skill. You have the gossip with the bars. And it worked. If I'm going to be real, it worked, but like, damn. What's good, J-Tom? How you feeling?
He don't see that as controversy. He just like, that's how I see it.
Now that the dust is settled on everything, do you still feel the same way?
I'm always feel the same way about black people fighting over nothing.
Okay.
But Drake is a Karen.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
I don't know, for some reason I gotta play this.
Lord have mercy. We must stay focused.
But Drake is a Karen that sued. Drake is a Karen that sued. He allegedly had somebody on his own team shooting at his house. Why we never heard no more information about that?
Did I ask the same? Hey, did I not ask the same thing? Did I not ask the same thing? Okay. Now one more time for the people in the back.
Dude, Drake is a Karen that sued. He allegedly had somebody on his own team shooting at his house. Why we never heard no more information about that?
Who ran the security company? We already looked into it. Hell, what was it? CBC News looked into it, if I'm correct. One of the Toronto news stations looked into it. It was either CBC, CTV, or Global News. They looked into it. Who owned the security company? Okay.
Ain't nobody go to jail behind this. If you count top 5, he was going there anyways because all the nonsense he be doing, all the chaotic shit he does on camera, that was going to happen. Who would have went to jail after this battle? So maybe he's talking about in general in terms of how some of these can get very, very violent, very much to the edge.
Okay, I'll break it down for everybody because I feel like he's alluding to it, but he's not saying it. So at this point, it's my job to say it. When you have intelligent people battle, you're going to have a great battle. But when you have somebody that don't know how to read try to battle another dude that just don't even know how to enunciate his words, yeah, that's going to bring about violence. See, when you have somebody that's dumb that wants to fight somebody that's dumber, yo, fun fact, dumb people don't know how to fight. Dumb people don't know how to swing. See, when you see a dumb person fight, they swing with all their might. You know what I'm saying? They're swinging like, yeah. You know what I'm saying? Bro, what happened to a little jab here and there? What we doing? What we do? You out here swinging like you trying to hug a nigga. Yo, I ain't gonna lie. See, at that point, that's when we start shooting. Not me. Okay, I do not pick up said weaponry. I do not do that. That is not my time. That is not my place. But when you have grown men or children that haven't had their brain fully developed yet, even though you got dudes in their 40s with an underdeveloped brain. Anyway, my point is, when you got somebody that is that dumb, that don't know how to fight or don't want to swing because they might get bruised, when you pull out that machine, the news companies are going to pull up saying, what's going on here? Breaking news, ladies and gentlemen, there was a shooting between 5th and 6th Street. Multiple dead, multiple wounded. I don't know what kind of weapon they brought out, but my God, this looks like, let me not say that. Anyway, y'all understand what I'm saying though, right?
Right, very much people losing their lives in this. That part of it is beyond any competition in hip hop. It is corny to be losing your life over something that was said about you in a rap song. It gets really corny, and I'm with him on that. I still love the competitive edge, the competitive nature. I think it brings out the best in people at times. But to his point, there is a guy that don't look like either one of them people that's battling. I ain't gonna just say a white guy.
Hugo, you right though.
Like, Go ahead, you guys have at it. Who won the battle between 50 Cent and Kanye West? Universal. I said it.
Somebody's gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
Whoa.
But everybody love a mudslinging contest, so I stay out of it. Entertainment is entertainment, so if everybody's entertained, it's all good.
Okay. So
that's the take right there. But like I said, let's not stray away from the original topic of art versus commerce. I've already played one of these clips years ago, but I want to bring it back to the forefront because like I said, it's so dope to hear an artist like a Vince Staples, an MC like a Vince Staples, stay consistent on his points no matter how his career continues to skyrocket as an actor, continues to skyrocket in other places. Because I feel like when rappers' careers start taking off, like in movies, they start bad-mouthing the culture, especially if your name Post Malone. Big extra plug. Molly Cyrus, Tommy Richmond. I'm sorry, I had a little blackout. Here's what he said here that kind of echoes the statement that he said about art versus commerce. This is in an interview that he had years ago. Peep it out.
If we're talking commerce, we got to separate commerce and art when we talk about music. Okay, and anyway, because you got to think about it, Vincent Van Gogh was nobody until he died. Sure. But art spoke for it. Basquiat died, bro. We talking about sales and commerce. Michael Jackson died in severe debt. If he died with no money, we can never talk about money.
Sure.
That's just how
I love that he brought up Michael Jackson and how he died in a lot of debt because that man's name is raking in to this day about $3.5 billion off of his name, Michael Jackson. Through his death, it's brought about billions of dollars. He will have statues. He will go down in history as literally the king of pop. But none of that would have happened if he's still alive. And keep in mind, he passed, like I said, in debt. But his name brings about billions of dollars. His catalog brings about billions of dollars. Now, ain't that sick and twisted? But that's the harsh reality. Jesus. $3.5 billion. Do you understand what you can do with that kind of money?
personally feel. And if we talk about art, we can separate music, say music, not art, but no, everybody want to call themselves an artist. So if we talk about it as an artist, you don't get in the museum for having a lot of money. As far as sales going in music.
Whoa! When I tell you he's one of the sharpest minds in the game right now, I'm not saying that as an exaggeration or any kind of West Coast bias. He's one of the sharpest minds in this effing game. The people that we revere, the people that we compare today's art to versus the people from before, the ones who have created the foundation of art, many of those artists have died broke.
Yeah.
That is not an assassination upon their character or their decision making. It is not, to downplay them or devalue them. It's to give you the reality of it. We appreciate their art. We love their art. We revere their art. But if it was about the money, the way that these people try to make these talking points about rappers and artists today, we wouldn't respect them. If we use the same metrics as first week sales, if we use the same metrics as how much money, how much clout this person has versus this, if you died broke, that would be negating people like Van Gogh, negating a Michael Jackson. And that sounds absolutely fucking mad, doesn't it? So maybe those metrics are not the proper ones to gauge someone's art by. Not saying that the greatest of all time need to be broke. They should not be, especially in this era.
Connor, I love your question. Why does everyone become more popular once they die? XXX, Juice, Pop Smoke, Mac Miller, and almost every rapper that came before them. The answer is in your question, and it's, death. One thing you got to understand when it comes to society is that we have been desensitized to the act and word of death. In fact, when we see that word or when we see it in our favorite TV show, it brings about excitement. And because of that excitement, sales go up, viewership goes up. Now, when you translate that to music, it's the same thing now. Your sales go up. Music video count, everything goes up. Because basically what society has done is that they made death interesting by simply just showing what it looks like in many different ways. It's sick, it's nasty, it's twisted, but that's what it is. That's what it brings about. It brings about interest, excitement, wonder. And when you apply that to music, that's why everybody gets so popular. So it's unfortunate, but that's what it is.
Era right now of independence that is thriving, of artist empowerment. It should not happen, but do not be surprised when you get these artists right now that are flexing the money. They throwing it in front of your face on Instagram and TikTok. Don't be surprised in 5 years when they're in tears on TikTok from a podcast where they're exposing all the things that were happening behind the scenes.
Just like Caribou. I don't know if anybody here is familiar with Caribou. She did a song with Ice Spice a while back. What was it? The Boy's a Liar or some shit like that. It was viral on TikTok, I'm not gonna lie. But she broke. Caribou broke as hell. She's so broke, it's gotten to the point where she has two choices. She either has to be a Twitch streamer or start an OnlyFans. And she said she don't want to start no OnlyFans, so she's streaming on Twitch. But, honey boo boo, I just gotta say good luck to you. Because trust and believe me, girl, it ain't gonna work. You gotta find a job. A job. And I'm not talking. No, let me stop.
I saw a video today that said, this gentleman said, when you look at the sky and you see a plane going, you would never know, judging by the way that it flies, that there's turbulence. Inside the plane, the pilot knows, oh shit, something bad is going to happen. But based upon you just looking at it traveling, you would never know that it's turbulence because it doesn't show signs of it quite yet until it gets a little bit too close for comfort. The same thing happens to a lot of these artists that you see. They have been made to look like everything's all right even when it's not all right. They've been designed to show highlights of their careers and what they're doing. They show up only when money is on them. They show up looking expensive, looking like they smell good. Shit ain't that good. They are probably going through worse financial crisis than some of us with 9 to 5. Some of us out here who are independent DIYers. Worse than some of us out here who are check to check because their overhead, or even worse because of how much money is going out versus what is coming in. Especially if they're relying upon things like streaming and tours with low ticket sales, especially if they're in some kind of 360 deal, especially if they got people who have to get paid because they took an advance, they took money. You just don't know what they got going on. I know it because I seen it firsthand. So When we talk about that, we got to have a different conversation. If we're talking about art, let's talk about art. If you're talking about listening to music with a calculator, go over there with that. That's it.
We can't have that be in the conversation of you being the best, and that's why that's what people use when they try to compensate for the lack of how they feel about their art. But say Drake, for instance, Drake the one to sell the most, right? Even if Drake didn't sell in a crazy amount, his influence, how his music touches people, he'd still be Drake. Like look at Chance, he not selling nothing, but he still has influence. So it's a good argument to use, and that's what fans like to say. Fans like to say I'm selling records, but it's a joke. You back on somebody's shoes, you say they dirty and they dusty and they don't got no money.
Yeah, that's how it goes, unfortunately. Here's another clip. Because he got, man, I'm telling you, if you have not gone down a rabbit hole of Vince Staple quotables and interviews, not only is he hilarious with some of these takes, but he gonna say things in a way that's like, damn it, that makes a lot of sense. Why don't you hear more people saying this? He had a clip here.
Hey, one thing about that, J-Tom, 720 deals are rare, but they exist. They're rare as heck, but they exist. Them deals really do exist out there. They're hard to find, don't get it twisted, but they real. Them 720 deals, wicked work that is, by the way. Let me just say that first. It's wicked work to see somebody in a 720. Because, boy, the way your money just don't come to you. Like, your money just going to everybody else but you. But my point is that, yeah, that's how it goes. Here's a darker reality for artists that have passed. The reason why Mac Miller's music works so well is because it's stuck to hip-hop. If you look at Pop Smoke, for example, there's a flaw with Pop Smoke's music. A lot of it is drill. I don't know about you guys, but drill has not been popping high like it used to. If I'm going to be super real. Now, I know he has hit records that are not drill. Thank God. But it's only about like 3 songs, maybe 4 songs, and it's not enough. It's not enough. So he passed, still on his come up. He didn't even get established properly yet. Drill was the foundation for those branches to grow. He needed more time to get those songs out there because I feel like he was going to make a major pivot, just like X. A lot of people don't know when it comes to X. He has about 2 Caribbean tracks, and he has a track with Vybz Kartel. X is Jamaican. He was leaning towards his Jamaican roots. And before he can even explore, he passed. Honey has 2 Caribbean songs, and I love both of them. One with Vybz and one with Tory on them. As a Caribbean myself, I love those tracks. Trust and believe me. But even X, he didn't have enough time to do more. Yeah, he was providing music for people that wanted the pain to go away. Same with Mac Miller. That's why their music still flies. Same with Juice. That music that helps the pain to go away, kind of, you know what I'm saying? That works. There's still a market for that. It's still very strong. But for pop, the flaw is the music, and that's drill. It's not hitting. I was listening to Welcome to the Party. We already know that song. But it wasn't hitting how it used to. But if I listen to Juice or X, Mac Miller, it still hit. Sucks, don't it? The artist will never see the money. That's a fact. A double back.
That was on the Title YouTube channel where I believe he talked to Joey Badass and Styles P. He had a conversation about this very thing and about art and the way that we call music art, but he's challenging that notion with this argument that is going to follow right here. Listen to this.
When you talk about music and you talk about art, when niggas try to put music and art in the same box, I just can't really fuck with it.
But music is art.
But we can say that.
It's an art form.
We can say it's an art form, but everybody gonna trade it in for commerce. Art.
That definitely right on that.
Art becomes commerce in the latter stages of it. People that make art create art. They give it to the art dealer. They give it to the art dealer. Gives it to the art buyer. And in 10 years, it's gonna be worth $15 million.
I get what you're saying.
But what I'm gonna say is, at the end of the day, can we really sit here and say it's art when everybody cool with they label, selling the shit to iTunes for $1.99? It's art, but we can't pick our own price.
Somebody's gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
Is that not the core of the DIY arguments we make all the time versus streaming? About how much control do we have?
And this is why indie artists will always have more power over anybody in the industry. Now, do they see the same kind of money as a lot of people in the industry? No. But one thing they cannot say is that they a puppet. When I look at Lil Russell, that boy good. That boy is all right. He is fine. He ain't got to worry about nothing except what his team doing. Now, when I look at any of these industry babies, oh, yeah, they cook. They cook. Yeah, you might got your money now, but you're going to be broke later. I'll tell you that much. Ice Spice. I'm teasing. But, yeah, that's how it goes. That's literally how it goes. And sorry, not sorry, that's what happens. You know? What can you do about it? This is what you signed. You signed the dotted line. You were supposed to read the papers that you have gotten, but you didn't feel like doing it that day, did you? Well, that's why you got lawyers. But oh, wait, you don't got a lawyer by your side. That's crazy, ain't it? That's so insane. If you sit there and think about it, who really has more power this whole time? It's just because they don't necessarily have the popularity, the money, the glitz and glam, but you know, they good. But when I look over here, they might look rich, but these individuals are broke as hell. That's the reality behind it, bro. Yeah, you get money, but you don't get money like that. Let me take my percentage before we even continue this conversation.
Much independence do we have if we cannot independently determine whether or not a song is free or is for whatever amount we want it to be? When you think about a Mac Homie, even Mac Homie had issues on Bandcamp. When he started selling his albums, I think for like 1,000 or even 10,000, I forget what it was. I think it was 1,000. And he sold 11 of them and he made $11,000. Bandcamp held his money. Bandcamp held $11,000 of his money to double check for fraud. So even in that situation, even in that scenario, we did a video about it. You can go watch it. Even in that scenario, how much control do you have over your art? And then when you talk about the streaming platforms, you can't put up a song for free. That's not a thing you can put up for free. You can't put a song up there for more than $1.25 if I'm not mistaken. Last time I was on DistroKid, it's $1.25. You can't even put it up more than that. What if I think my song is worth $50? Why don't I have the freedom to do that? Well, this is what makes platforms like platforms like your website, even more important. So I love what he's saying, because what he's saying it's nothing about it that should be controversial. Like, if you're an artist and you truly do treat this as an art, you should have full autonomy over the way that your art is delivered and presented and priced.
It's art, but we create based on whatever niggas say. It's art, but we still making music videos, mixtapes, and albums. So at the end of the day, we can really talk about all this shit, but at the end of the day, everybody just gonna let niggas sit here, sign it down the line, get their check, and say, get your money, my nigga.
That's a fact.
So it's nigga, like you said, it become a hobby, it become a job, and it become what? So what I'm saying, we expect to have Basquiat's, we expect to have Andy Warhols, we expect to have Damien Hirst, all these other motherfuckers within our rappers, our producers, our directors, our people like that. We expect to have Cindy Sherman's with the way that, like, why is Miss Ellie not Cindy Sherman? When she put on the spacesuit, why Miss Ellie not in the mocha? When Cindy Sherman got whole exhibits at the Bro Museum based on her dressing up like shit. And Miss Ellie done that in 15 different videos. It's because at the end of the day, that shit worth millions, and our shit worth $1.99.
In other words, go and get yourself intelligent, go be knowledgeable, and don't sit there and wait for somebody to give you your paycheck. Round of applause for Hugo. Round of applause for Hugo. I love your comment. Ice Spice gonna try and get pregnant and be somebody baby mama. Y'all heard that controversy with Summer Walker and how she admitted that she wants to be somebody's side piece. Sitting there talking to Tory Bricks, and Tory Bricks fine. Tory Bricks is fine. She looks so good. Oh my God, here comes Summer Walker with that dirty tattoo on her chest talking about, girl, you gotta share him too. You are useless. Well, thank God I never listened to your album. You are useless. God damn. You really gonna sit there with your bold face on the internet talking through a damn voice note saying, oh, girl, he been spending on me already. He been paid for my mortgage. He been bought me bags. Just shut up. Out here willing to be a side piece. This is what your life is. All the baby daddies, now you figure out, you know what? Shit, I'm a side character for the rest of my life. Where's your worth? Where's your self-worth? Goes back to this conversation. We're talking about the knowledge, the power, your self-worth, everything that comes with protecting your peace. It's ridiculous. But that's what happens when you don't know what you're getting into. You got to do your research. If this is something that you really want to do, if you really want to make music, you got to research the full landscape of the industry and learn how to navigate it, learn how to get through it, learn how to survive, learn how to thrive. If you cannot do that, if you cannot take the time, a couple hours, a couple days to do your research so you can walk into this knowing what to do, then that's you. That's you. You a puppet. Don't try and call yourself a boss when you got a boss.
Sheesh.
Niggas is focused on the wrong things. What I'm saying is, it's a million niggas that's photographers, but you can't tell a motherfucker that the nigga who take the picture that sit in the frame at Target is the same as the motherfucker that take the cover of the New York Times. We not gonna say that. But they don't even pay attention to them niggas. The problem is we paying too much attention to the motherfuckers who not really doing it. If you look at Retina and all these other motherfuckers that's doing all this high-end graffiti art and shit like that, you ask a real artist, not to sound fucked up, but niggas don't fuck with Retina that make art. You ask a real artist how they feel about him, they not even gonna know who you talking about. Murakami not paying attention to Retina.
It's a part 2 to this that I want to make sure we conclude with. It's only 39 seconds, but peep this out.
But what I'm saying is at the end of the day, like we talk about a Basquiat, a Da Vinci, all these niggas that niggas throw out in their songs, right? When you an artist, it's okay to die broke. These niggas can't go broke or die broke if you out here rapping. Or you a clown. We clowning you. A nigga sell, you know, 50,000 ounces, 5,000 ounces, and oh, he's a bum. But it's only one of these paintings a piece. We ain't never clown on nigga for only selling one painting or only being in one museum or only doing one movie, only doing 2 movies. We clown. It's like you said, it's not about the music. So what I'm saying is that was my Lloyd Banks point. Like his music.
Sheesh. He said a whole lot there. I think the thing that resonates with me the most in this is, you know, there is a bit of there's a big underappreciation for independent artists. I had a conversation where, I mean, this whole week, if you follow me on Twitter at Curtis King, you'll see I'm always consistently just speaking truth, bringing truth to light about independent artists, because I feel like when the conversations come up of the best albums of the year, it pains me that we're not immediately bringing up a Mick Jenkins who released 2 projects that could easily be somebody's best fucking albums in their catalog. Both of the albums that he released this year.
Because you already know why. You already know why. The indie artists ain't gonna get no love. And even if they are in the industry, do you not see the titans that are standing above him? That's the reality behind it. What's good, Ron? I love how me and Ron are on the same page. And Connor, you're absolutely right when it comes to pop. He was ready to change. He was ready to make that adjustment. So I'm already right there with you. So don't even worry. But yo, Ron, you be on the same page all the time. That is so funny, bro. She is a fine piece of butter. Tory Bricks, Lord have mercy.
Cheer type shit and in A Murder of Crows, incredible albums. Incredible songwriting, incredible lyricism, but because it wasn't presented to us on one of them name brand platforms, because we weren't bombarded with it through the different media outlets that we go to, because we weren't seeing it in that light, that conversation changes, and it's almost like people treat independent artists like the minor leagues. Yep. And then when you compare it by the sales, it's really easy to shit on an independent artist then, because then you could belittle them by saying, look, you only got this amount of Spotify listeners. when we're sitting up here talking about Spotify getting rid of 75 million AI songs and only having 120 million, around that amount, to 130 million songs total. The whole game is rigged. If you don't believe it's rigged, go see all these AI artists that came up out of nowhere and became #1 on their charts. Tell me this game's not rigged. If you still don't believe it's rigged, I'd like to sell you something on Christmas from Santa Claus. I'd like to take you to a wrestling event and let you see something up close. It is a god-awful game. Somebody came to me and you know, they were talking about how terrible of a position hip-hop is in if it's not selling in the mainstream. And I said, you sound like a record exec who doesn't have any kind of cultural knowledge, any kind of awareness. Is what you sound like. And I said, there's so many thriving artists independently. There are so many artists who found success in the mainstream that are finding it independently. And not to mention, we have to separate mainstream rap success. Rap is only one of the foundational tiers, pillars of hip hop. Rap is only one of the pillars of hip hop. Hip hop culture has never left the underground. Rap did. It still exists within underground hip hop culture, but rap did get into the mainstream. That was the one that they figured out how to monetize and how to take full advantage of in the major label systems. Now, as it's being deprioritized and moved to the side for whatever god-awful songs or genres they're trying to create after this with AI, rap is coming back exclusively, it feels at times, to hip-hop and back home in the underground. But you can't bring the same kind of reasoning that you used in conversations about mainstream rappers, because when you're in that ecosystem, you're arguing points that A&Rs and execs argue with each other over golf. As a fan, you're doing that. And you don't get to make none of the money that you clown on these artists for not making or for making. You don't get to enjoy in none of the sales that you're nana boo boo. That's why your album only. You don't get to enjoy none of that. But you add in your mouth to the conversation. No. And that last point he said, nobody is going to sit up here and discredit a Van Gogh, a Basquiat, for only selling one of one piece of art. The exclusivity is what made it more valuable. The fact that you could only go see the Mona Lisa in one place in the whole earth. And you got to wait in line behind velvet ropes and stand in front of there, and you can't even touch it. You can just stand there and look at it and take pictures behind a glass display. This is the same kind of respect you need to be treating the artist music out here if you say that you love hip hop. These are one of the last few true-to-life art forms that are built on the foundation of authenticity, that can return back to the underground and go find as many resources as necessary to not only continue to feed itself and to thrive and evolve, but there's going to come a time where that same mainstream system that pimped out rap is going to see something down here and pull it back into the conversation again. All I'm saying is, as the people have the access to it, you as a listener have power over this. If you love the music that you get from an artist, nobody's telling you to cancel your streaming platform. It's an amazing service for you. But go buy that artist's album. Go buy that artist's album. I bought Glass Malone's vinyl this last week, and I bought I Am Lyric from A Room Full of Mirrors. If I'm not doing that, then what do I have the right to tell you to go buy anything?
See, that's where you're going to lose people. Because when you start to tell people go and buy this, a lot of the time the consumer is not going to listen. Now, if you have fans, your fans are going to listen. I'm not saying like going to like it's like unanimous. It's like it's a strong maybe, but it's still likely. But if you're telling an average consumer this is why you should buy it, it's going to be hard to convince them. Because they're already conditioned to do this. And now you're trying to tell them to do this while they're conditioned to do this. So even though they're walking this way, they're looking at you like, are you good? While still walking this way. That's where you're going to lose a lot of people. That area of disconnection needs to be connected, but you got to find a unique way to build that bridge. And a lot of people don't understand that. The trick to this is all communication. It's just about how you're going to tell somebody this is what you should do. The reality is that you're still telling them you should do this, but you got to find it in a way where it resonates with the consumer over here. That's the average. While trying to push this product at the end of the day. Communication is also important when you are an artist. Not for your bars or not for how you rap or whatever, but how you talk. How you articulate yourself. Because ever since this battle, I see artists as like the upper echelon of individuals that just understand what it means and what it takes to be great. Like, you have to move a certain way if you want to be great. And if you're not doing that, then you're simply just not great. And that's the dark reality of it, you know? It's tough. All right, let me go ahead and finish this video because we got more videos.
Especially from me. So, DIYers, that is what I am asking of you, especially as many of you who have followed this channel and understand when we say DIYers.
DIY.
It's another word for independent artists, but that's what we're here for. DIYers. I love those points that Vince Staples had. You let me know what your thoughts on what he just shared.
DIY.
What can I say? And Connor, to your point, you can still purchase like MP3 files from the artist specifically. You don't need a streaming platform. If you want to buy a vinyl, if you want to buy a CD, a cassette, whatever, and you have said player to do it, that's you. Go ahead. Don't let me stop you. But if you're only on like a phone, if you only have like an MP3 device, for example, there's still files out there that you can purchase as a consumer. So you can add that to your phone. I have one DSP on my phone, and that's Spotify. But also at the same time, on my Android, I can download music from the internet and keep it separate from Spotify. Now, for certain people out there that know how to get music that's not on Spotify onto Spotify, you just simply go to settings and then you turn on your local files so that you can have those in there. But that's a whole other story for another day. My point is, you can still download music and have it on your phone that's outside of Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal, just as examples. It's still possible to do. Just got to know how to do it. That's it. Like, you can literally like download videos from YouTube still. YouTube, the MP3 player or MP3 file. You can still do those downloads. I remember back in the day when I first found out I can do that. It was game over for a lot of these, Nick. I was playing songs nobody heard before. Everyone like, where did you get? I'm like, YouTube, Nick. Like, but that's what it is. That's what it used to be back in the day when he had LimeWire. God, thank God I ain't getting no virus. But LimeWire days, when you go and download the song, you know, Soulja Boy, Kiss Me Through the Phone, or Soulja Girl, you know, Chris Brown and Jordan Sparks, No Air, you know, Omarion and Bow Wow, Let Me Hold You, you know. Y'all remember when it had like the bunch of underscores and dashes in that joint? That's how you knew you had that song for it. That's not just to stay on topic. That's what it is. That's what it was. And you can still do that to this day. You know? So it's just about understanding what you can do as a consumer. Understanding that you don't need a DSP to play this song because your phone should be allowed to play this song because your phone would have its own music file. A lot of people might have it. For example, on my Samsung, you have Samsung Music. Go to Samsung Music. For a lot of people, there probably no music in there. You can start putting music in there. There's ways to do this. Enough of me talking, but there's ways to do this. You know? So trust me. Hey, look, we're just getting started. We're just getting started, bro. We lock in.